Welcome to my channel. If you're new in my channel, then please subscribe my channel, The Focus Area. So let's start. I'm gonna make a change in my life, but you never do. Well, today I want to talk about something a little bit different. And then finally, it's going to be keeping track of your wins. There are two opposing forces within all of us: motivation and discipline. And it's important to understand where each of these lie in terms of the pros and cons. But before we get into all that, if you value the advice that I've given these videos, please help support this channel. I want to talk about something called discipline over motivation. In fact, you probably clicked on this video because the title was a little clickbait. It's like trying to drive a car without a steering wheel. You're just gonna end up going in circles. Admit it. You clicked on this video because you wanted to hear a bunch of inspiring things about motivation. Discipline is. But here's the hard truth. Motivation isn't the answer. For example, if you want to read more, don't just buy a bunch of books and put them on your shelf. Instead, keep a book on your bedside table. Maybe read a few pages each night before bed. If you want to write more, don't just sit down and stare at a blank canvas. Instead, set a timer for just 10 minutes and see what you can produce in that time. Or if your goal is to be more active, how will you measure your success? By keeping track of our wins, no matter how small they are, we are able to see our progress, and that motivates us to keep going. If there's one thing that has helped me grow in my life, and I mean really grow, it's focusing on my discipline rather than my motivation. There was a study done by Dr. Matthews at the University of Michigan that found that people who kept track of their workouts were more likely to stay fit over the long term compared to those who did not track anything at all. We retaking the big daunting tasks and breaking them down into smaller bite-sized pieces that are much easier to swallow. Are you tracking your wins, or are you just letting them slip through your fingers? Well, personally, I like to use a habit tracker. The best way to make sure that you staying focused and on track is to set up systems that hold you accountable. It's a simple spreadsheet where I list out all the habits that I want to build, and then I track whether or not I follow through on them each day. You cannot rely on motivation alone. It's just not going to cut it. It might not be the most fun, but it's the most reliable. Seeing the progress that I'm making, even if it's slow, helps me stay motivated and keep going. This makes it less likely that you procrastinate, and it makes it more likely that you follow through. And in this video, I want to share 3 key things with you. And that leads me to my second point, which is that we need to make discipline stupidly simple. Keeping track of our wins is important because it keeps us accountable. Use a habit tracker or journal or whatever else helps you stay accountable. Break down the big tasks into smaller ones that are easy to follow through on. Second, keep track of your wins. I hope this video has been helpful, and if it has, please consider subscribing to the channel and joining our awesome community. I also have a newsletter which you can check out at the link below. Until next time, remember to focus. And third, celebrate your successes, no matter how small they are. Give yourself permission to enjoy the wins so that you can stay motivated and keep going. See, sometimes we think that discipline is this really hard thing that we have to force ourselves to do. You know, we set these big goals and then we don't know how to measure our progress towards them. So we end up just giving up. We say things to ourselves like, oh, I have to get up early tomorrow and work out, or I have to start that project I've been putting off. And by saying I have to, what we're telling ourselves is that it's a chore, it's a burden. And that's not the way we want to approach things. Now, the first point is to understand the conflict. The second is going to be making discipline easy and stupid simple. All right, so first we need to understand the conflict. So, starting with motivation. It's great for starting things. And while it might not be as fun or exciting as motivation, it's far more reliable. Basically, it's consistent. You know, when you feel motivated, you feel like you can conquer the world. You know, we live in a world where everyone is selling some magical formula for success, whether it is a course, a podcast, or a YouTube video. There is no shortage of advice on how to be more productive or successful. But rarely does anyone talk about the importance of discipline over motivation. You feel energized and inspired to take action. But the problem with motivation is that it doesn't always stick around, and when it leaves you left having to do stuff you don't really want to do, and that is where discipline comes in. Discipline is basically doing stuff you should do, even when you don't feel like it. One of the problems that we face today is that we are constantly trying to find motivation to do the things that we need to do instead of just doing them. The reason for this is because motivation sells. It's more exciting. It's more inspirational. In fact, relying solely on motivation is a recipe for failure. So next, we have to talk about how to make discipline easy. By making it stupidly simple, what we're doing is lowering the barrier to entry. Instead, we should be asking ourselves, how can I make this easy? So basically what we're doing here is we're shrinking the resistance. And finally, we need to talk about keeping track of our wins. When we're just starting out, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. For example, if your goal is to read more, how will you know when you've achieved that? In fact, so how exactly should you keep track of your wins? But let me ask you something. Well, first, make discipline stupidly simple. It might be there one day and gone the next, but discipline is like that friend who always has your back. So let's wrap this up. If you want to be successful in whatever it is that you're doing, then you need to focus on your discipline. As Naval Ravikant says, don't be motivated by fear. Be motivated by growth. So how do you do that? Motivation is a fickle friend. And if you're willing to embrace the power of discipline over motivation, then you'll be unstoppable. Please like my video and subscribe my channel if you want to more like this in your life.